This is part 3 of the Unit 5 lab. All right, so when I got cut off, we are putting zinc with sulfate because we have one positive with one negative, and that means the copper is going to be all by itself. All right, so we want to make the formula. Now they each have 2's, so if we want to, we could put 2's down for each. We could say zinc gets a 2, and we would also say that the sulfate gets a 2. But if I just put a 2 here, it looks like 42. So what do I have to put around my SO4? I would have to put parentheses. All right, so we can either do it like this, or because they are both 2's, we can reduce, and we can just write it as ZnSO4 copper. All right, let's go ahead and let's do the next one. So aluminum is right here in group 3. So what's the charge of aluminum? Aluminum is positive 3. Copper, for all of these problems, it's going to be positive 2. And sulfate from up here, we know is a charge of negative 2. All right, so which one is the aluminum going to go with, the copper or the sulfate? It's going to go with the sulfate. Why? Because aluminum is positive and sulfate is negative, and you always have the positives and negatives go together. And then the rest of this chemical reaction is going to be the leftover. So which element is left over that I have to write yet? The Cu, or the copper. All right, so let's make this formula. Now remember, this minus 2 goes down by the aluminum, and this 3 goes on the other side of the sulfate. It goes down at the bottom there. And so that means it would be Al what? What number would come after the Al? The 2. And then we have SO4. And we want our 2 to be little. So let's make that little. And we have SO4. And what number goes after the SO4? That would be the 3 from aluminum. But, what do I need right here around my sulfate? Around my sulfate, I better have parentheses. Otherwise, it looks like SO43. All right, so our official answer then would be the aluminum sulfate plus the copper. And this is what we started with. Well, now we have to do something else to our chemical equation. We need to balance it, okay? We need to balance it and have the same amount on both sides. All right, so we're starting out with our official equation. So in the official equations, we don't put the charges. Now we have to balance it. Balancing it, remember, means we need to satisfy the law of conservation of mass. In other words, we have to have the same amount of each element on both sides of my chemical equation. So to do that, what I like to do first is divide it in half. So I keep track of where everything is. And so I want to know how many aluminums are on each side. I'm going to list that. How many coppers are on each side? How many sulfurs are on each side? And what's my last one I have to write? How many oxygens are on both sides? Oops. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. So on the left side, how many aluminums are there? 1. How many coppers? 1. How many sulfurs? 1. How many oxygens? 4. Okay, let's do the other side. How many aluminum? 2, because there's a little 2 there. How many coppers? Just 1. How many sulfurs? Well, don't forget about your parentheses. This 3 gets distributed, so there's 3 copies of SO4. So when I say I have 3 copies of SO4, that's like saying I have S and then with 4 O's attached to it. and I have 3 copies of that. Okay, so when you see SO4 parentheses 3, this is what it means. It means I have 3 copies of an S with 4 oxygens attached to it. Okay, so how many S's do I have on the product side? 3. And how many oxygens? Well, you can add it up, or 4 times 3. 4 times 3 is 12. Okay, so now we can see this is not balanced. We can see that, well, we definitely have more oxygens, more sulfurs, and more aluminums on this side. So now we have to balance it. We have to add some coefficients or numbers in front of the compounds to balance it out. All right, so let's start with sulfur. So sulfur on this side has 1, on this side there's 3. So 1 times what is going to give us the 3 that we want? Well, it's going to be 3, right? Okay, so we're going to put a 3 right here. Now we have to distribute this 3. So now how many coppers do we have on this side? Well, now we have 3. So we don't care that we had 1 before. We have 3 now. How many sulfurs? 3. And how many oxygens? 3 times 4 is 12. Hey, look at that. We have 12 oxygens on both sides. Are they equal? Yes. Are we done with oxygens then? Yes. We have 3 sulfurs on both sides. Are they done? Yes. We have 3 and 1 for coppers. Are they done? No. So what number am I going to have to put right here? I have to put a 3 there to give me 3 coppers on that side. Okay, on this side I have 2 aluminums. On this side I have 1. Is it done? Nope. What number am I going to have to put in front of the aluminum? A 2. Now I have a balanced chemical equation. All right, let's go to the next one. So the next one we have zinc, which has a charge of +2, and we are combining it with silver, which has a charge of +1. And I knew both those because way back at the top in the directions, I told you. And then we have nitrate, which if you look on your list of polyatomic ions, has a charge of -1. So over on this side, which one is the zinc going to go with? The zinc is going to partner with the nitrate. And the silver is going to be all by itself. All right, so let's make this chemical formula. Remember, this 1 goes down here, and this 2 goes down there. So can you tell me what the formula would be? It would be Zn with a 1. You don't have to put the 1, but you can. And then NO3 with a 2. But now it says 32. So what do I need in here? I need my parentheses to say I have 2 copies of NO3. Or in other words, I have NO3 and I have 2 copies of it. All right. And then we had plus silver. So let's write out our whole chemical equation here, because now we need to show that we have the same amount of everything on both sides, because that's what the law of conservation of mass tells us, and that's how we balance it. All right, so again, I'm going to draw a line to separate it, and I'm going to make a list. So on this side, how many zincs are there? 1. On the product side, how many zincs are there? 1. On the reactant side, how many silvers are there? 1. On the product side, how many silvers are there? 1. On the reactant side, how many nitrogens are there? 1. On the product side, how many nitrogens are there? Well, we have this 2 right here. It's got to distribute, and so there are 2. All right, oxygen on the reactant side, there are 3. And how many oxygens on the product side? 2 times 3 gives us a total of 6. All right, so we can see we have a few that aren't balanced. The nitrogen and the oxygen are not balanced, and so we need to take care of that. So let's do this one. 3 times what is going to give me a total of 6 that I need? So we need a 2 there. Well, where's the 2 going to go up here? I cannot put it there. That's not legal. I can't put it in the middle of the compound. It has to go here at the beginning. So now, how many silvers do I have on the reactant side? 2. And how many nitrogens? Got to distribute. I have 2. Oh, look at that. I balanced my nitrogens as well. Woohoo! So now, what's the only thing left I need to balance? My silvers. I have 2 on this side. So what do I need to put right there? A 2. And now I'm balanced. All right. Let's go ahead and do the last one for this section. So the last one, I have copper, and copper also has a charge of +2. Silver still has a charge of +1, and nitrogen still has a charge of -1. So which one's the copper going to go with? The copper is going to go with, sorry about that. The copper is going to go with the nitrate. And then plus Ag. So what's this formula going to be? What is this formula going to be? So remember, we take this number and put it down there. And then we take this charge and we put it down there, except we always keep them positive. We always keep them positive because on the bottom it tells how many there are instead of the charge. And so it would be Cu1 down at the bottom. Do you have to write the 1? No, but you can if you want to. And then on this side, there would be a 2, except, what do we got to add? Parentheses. We have to add our parentheses to show that there's 2 copies, like up here, 2 copies of NO3. All right, so now we want to go and write the rest of our chemical equation here before we can balance it. And why do we balance? To have the same number of each element on both sides. All right, so I'm going to draw a line and I'm going to list everything. So how many coppers? And what about on the product side? How many coppers? All right, and now let's do Ag. How many Ags? And on the product side? And how many Ns? And on the product side? Remember, we got to distribute this 2 into the parentheses. And how many O's? 3. And on the product side, there are 6. Okay, I want you to balance this equation. I want you to balance the equation. So I want you to tell me what number goes here and also what number goes there in order to balance it. All right, and so the answer is we have 2 nitrogen on this side and only 1 over here. So let's put a 2 there because that gives us 2 nitrogen, but it also gives us 2 silver. And how many oxygens? 6. And so now we need to put what in front of here? A 2. And that balances it out as well. All right, we do have one more section to do. And you guys are doing good. Keep with it. And so that will start in the next video.